Well, how's it going out there today, boys and girls in sporting land? This is Sports Trash Talk Nation with yours truly, JPC. And yes, this is still the home, even with a name change, of the Common Joe and the Common Sally in the Know, even more so than those media talking heads, because we know the media just can't be trusted anymore. We're going to have to do this ourselves from now on out. Now, today's topic, class, is this: Dabo the Dumbo. That's right, Dabo the Dumbo Swinney. He has a new nickname because Dabo seems to have taken it to heart that Greg Sankey just called a spade a spade. Now, Dabo, you were the one complaining not but a few weeks ago that Florida State would not play you guys in Tallahassee. And then when you get a chance to remake it, then you come up with this excuse or this bravado that says, oh, we're not interested in playing in Tallahassee anymore. They had their chance to play us. Like, you know, hey, why are we going to bow down to Florida State and play them when they want to? That's a little short sighted by Dabo Swinney. That's why he's called Dabo the Dumbo henceforth. But before I get more in depth into this and why the ACC is just as Greg Sankey said, trying to protect their investments, I'd like to ask you guys and gals to like, share, comment, and most importantly, subscribe to this channel. Subscriptions are most important. They keep me in the good graces of YouTube and keep me up and going and on the air. And they keep me motivated. So, back to the topic at hand. Dabo Swinney. Like I said, if you didn't want to play the game against Florida State to begin with, man, you should just went ahead and said it. You came out and said that because you were mad because your team traveled all the way to Tallahassee and they canceled right before kickoff. And I can understand why Dabo would be pissed off. On the devil's advocate point of view, he's right. Florida State should have known right before kickoff as to whether they were going to play the game or not. So, in a way, I can understand Dabo's consternation with Florida State and not wanting to play them or bow down to them and go back to Tallahassee a second time because they did make the trip down there. This wasn't like a game where Alabama and LSU got canceled a week out. So, like I said, Dabo does have a gripe and a grief for that. Now, Notre Dame, not so much. Notre Dame had a game scheduled for December 12th. I think it was Wake Forest. And Wake Forest is not the Wake Forest of the 1980s. They're actually a pretty good team off and on and could have given Notre Dame maybe some issues, sort of like LSU did Florida. I wouldn't venture to say that LSU's not much better than Wake Forest this year. As a matter of fact, I think Wake Forest is actually bowl eligible by the old bowl eligible standards before this COVID-19 crap. So I can understand his beef with Florida State. But with that being said, that Florida State game was way back in November, okay? So, if you don't want to play Florida State, fine. There was lots of teams out there that were asking for a date with somebody, anybody. I think maybe Washington was wanting to play somebody. Maybe BYU, Coastal Carolina. There was lots of teams that were out there asking for a date on December 12th. There was plenty of teams that Clemson could have inserted there on December 12th that would have been along the same lines as Florida State. Because let's face it, Florida State sucks. So why even avoid the game? I can understand the whole injury factor because, hell, Alabama picked up an injury this week. Christian Harris got injured because we had to play that game against Arkansas. We didn't have to play it. We could have all done just like the ACC did. And this is the problem everybody has with the ACC, is they canceled Notre Dame's game 2 weeks out because they said it was taken away from the integrity of our title game because Clemson would have an off week and Notre Dame wouldn't. Well, that happens in college football all the time. Teams have a week off before a game. They have their bye week. And the other team don't have a bye week, but they play each other anyway. So that's a bunch of bullshit. And they know it. They know it's a bunch of BS. Basically, if they would just call a spade and just come out and own it, I probably wouldn't have no problem with it. Because you know what? The SEC probably should have done the same exact thing. I'm sure Florida's wishing now that they had, because they wouldn't have had to play LSU and they wouldn't have lost that game, and they could still be in line for a shot at the college football playoff. Where it is now, they've lost a second game, so there's going to have to be a lot of chaos involved in order for them to get back in the mix. And I don't really think they can, because Texas A&M is ahead of Florida, and they beat Florida head to head. So I just don't see that happening for Florida. So if they had had the week off, like a Clemson or Notre Dame, then they would still have their shot, and the Heisman hopeful, the Heisman, the Heisman hopefulness of one Kyle Trask would still be somewhat intact. As it is, the SEC played, the ACC didn't. One of our teams took a loss. One of our teams got some injuries. That's exactly what they were trying to avoid, and that's what they did avoid. So, all I'm asking for from you, Dabo, is not to be a Dumbo about it. Don't come out and be disingenuous. So, no, we wasn't avoiding anything. Blah, 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 blah. Just tell the truth, man. Come up with one of your little silly-ass acronyms that you like to do, like bring your own whatever, bring your own hypocrisy or whatever. I should have worn my pads today to keep this hypocrisy off of me, because once again, Dabo is slinging it quite profusely. Now, you guys and gals tell me what you think. Do you think the ACC was trying to protect their investment? Or do you think that they really were concerned about the integrity of their title game? I think it's a pretty clear-cut answer here. They were trying to protect their teams and to make sure that they made it into that title game unscathed without any kind of damage. And if that's what they were doing, that's fine. Just own it. Be a man about it and just say what you did. Just say, hey, look, I was trying to protect myself. Because it's not going to keep you from being in the playoff anyway, because you've played enough games to be considered. If they're going to consider a 5-0 or 6-0 Ohio State team, then they got to consider the ACC. But just own it and quit twisting and trying to turn it around in such a way that you don't look like you just punked out. Because we all punk out sometimes. It happens to all of us. And that's what happened with Dabo. And that's what happened with the rest of the ACC. Well, not the rest of the ACC, but Notre Dame and Clemson in particular. And with that, I'd like to ask you once again to like, share, comment, and subscribe to this channel. Subscriptions are most important. And as always, KMCA to all the other teams.